Hello everybody, Megazard here. Back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And it's hard to think that we're already a little more than halfway throughout the year for 2024. And you know what? It's starting to make me think and wonder, it's like, hey, what all have I played thus far from January all the way up to, current day here in the month of July. We're almost to the end of the month of July. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just go ahead and give all my thoughts upon this though, because, when you're reflecting back on the whole entire year, like a year-end review or something for all things gaming and stuff, it can be kind of harder to remember all the games that have dropped for the first half of the year, because the second half of the year you have like recency bias and stuff, but it's a little trickier to remember some of the first half of the years though. So this video is so much for y'all just to know what I've been playing and my personal thoughts on gaming and stuff for the first half of the year, as well as myself when I'm looking back at this like 6 months from now though. So that's what we're going to be talking about here in today's video though. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. So to kick things off, we got to rewind the clock all the way back to the month of January, which January and February, oh gosh, there was so many games coming out left and right. It was just freaking insane and kind of hard to keep up with at times though. And I don't know how we managed to start off the year so strongly though. In January, I managed to get my hands on Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy. Now that's, the trilogy that includes the 4th, 5th, and 6th games within the mainline series for Ace Attorney though. So a lot of those feature, Apollo up in there though. And thus far, I managed to go through and play the 4th game and the 5th game. So that's Apollo Justice and Dual Destinies. Those are the two I managed to get my hands on thus far. I still need to play the 6th game in the series though, and hopefully I can get around to playing that before the duology of the Miles Edgeworth games actually managed to drop out in the month of September. So yeah, so overall, at least for those 4th and 5th games, I really love the heck out of it though. Now, normally you wouldn't think I would have been like the biggest visual novel kind of person though, but I don't know, the Ace Attorney series just happens to work with me though, and I'm actually excited about the inclusion now that we're also managing to get Famicom Detective Club series with Smiling Man. Now that that's confirmed though, it's nice to be able to get more visual novel games though. And quite a bit spread of visual novel games as well though, because you can think back, Another Code Recollection, we also had that in the month of January, but I didn't manage to pick that game up, but maybe I'll pick it up around Black Friday or so. But at least with the Ace Attorney games though, I really did like the 4th game and stuff, especially that final chapter that you managed to do where it kind of jumps you around between like, the past, the present, and all of this stuff though. So they managed to incorporate a lot of cool stuff up in that. And then even with Dual's Destinies and stuff, like I love Athena's character, the way how they introduced her and stuff. And man, that very last trial though too, is like, damn, you didn't expect that dude to actually be suspect for all of these other trials and stuff, and it kind of leads all the way down to that though. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to really spoil anything though, but anything about visual novels and stuff, especially with Ace Attorney, you're definitely in for a treat though. So I love my experiences thus far. I just need to get around to playing that 6th game. All right, so next up, we roll over here in the month of February, and this is where all the chaos has ensued at this point though. But one of the first games I managed to get my hands on was Persona 3 Reload. I was really looking forward to this, especially coming off of the heels of Persona 5 Royal. Whenever I managed to get my hands on that, as soon as I bought my PS5, which that was like the year after launch, so that was way back in 2021. So fast forward the clock 3 years later, and I finally managed to get my hands on Persona 3 because I know Sylveon, my good old friend, he was a big component. He really loved Persona 3. I heard all of the fanfare and stuff from him, so I was like, all right, I know this is Persona. I know this is going to be a great series. So I know the 3rd game in the series has to be good though. And it did not disappoint, because I would say at least with this game right here, man, if you know anything about Persona, the voice acting and stuff, chef's kiss, the story, chef's kiss, being able to manage all of your daily activities and stuff and try to, balance out your social links, as well as, just trying to do after school activities where it's working to get cash or something like that, or raising up your charm or something, or your knowledge. So that way you can, expand upon further within all your social links with all these different characters. Oh man, it's just freaking beautiful. I love the whole cast of characters, everybody from Yukari over here all the way to Shinjiro. Well, Aragaki, I probably would say that though. Akihiko over there, Koromaru, who was definitely best boy up in the game, best boy, best dog and stuff though. Kind of consistent, at least with these, dog buddies and stuff. Like I remember Torgal from Final Fantasy 16 from last year, though. That managed to flow over into this year, though. So I do really appreciate that, though. You also had Ken over here, and then and a whole other slew of different characters as well, though. So overall, I love the cast of characters. Like there was a good sense of camaraderie and stuff like that with all of these people. That were trying to basically hunt all these different shadows and stuff. So the story was great. I loved all my experiences with it though, and it definitely lived up to the Persona hype. So now all I got to do now is just go through and play Persona 4 Golden at some point though. But I did have a limited edition copy from Limited Run that should arrive some point later in the second half of this year though. So at some point I managed to get my hands on it, and if not then maybe whenever they turn around and give us another remake of that game. All right, and then after that we had Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Now this game right here, I believe the difference between this and Persona 3 Reload was like a day or two difference between the two of them. So I had to play Persona 3 Reload first. That was the one I was looking forward to the most, and then I turned around and got around to this game. Now did enjoy my experiences overall with it. I did manage to get the big fancy limited edition. I did manage to do an unboxing on the channel for that as well though. But I think the one thing with this is there was just too much stuff going on, and then by the time I got down towards the end of the month, then I had a much bigger game that kind of took away all the attention from this though, and I was still trying to balance Persona 3 Reload, so it definitely got the shorter end of the stick, but I still enjoyed my experience with it. Still think I need to go through and beat a couple or a few more chapters though, but just being able to go through and play through this game, like originally the Grand Blue Fantasy series has been known to be always on mobile. Now it's actually being brought to consoles for one of the first times ever and stuff on the PS5, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my experiences with it though, and there's a good component of online up in here, a lot more so than I probably would ever have messed with online on the PS5, considering how most games I play on this system is usually like first party games and stuff, or not first party games. Most of the stuff I play on there is single player games though, so I really did like it. It's really cool, like the adventure setting and stuff, and then being able to use all your different action commands and stuff, like the animations fluid up in there. You can do all these different crazy combos, a wide variety of characters. So I like my experience. I just need to put more time up into this thing. So hopefully the schedule opens up just a little bit more, so that way I can at least finish the story and then dive into a little bit more side quests. All right, this next one right here is technically a live service game, Honkai Star Rail. I've been playing this game extensively since last year. That's when the game originally dropped, and it wasn't until like 4 or 5 months later I jumped into it on PC. That's the way how I like playing it through it though. But in February they did manage to drop out a whole new world called Penacony, where it's like the the world of dreams and stuff, and it's like you do some stuff in reality, but most of the adventures and stuff you have is like within this dreamscape world and stuff, and you have like this family and stuff that's kind of the ones in charge though, but a lot of chaos and stuff was kind of happening behind the scenes, and I'll kind of leave it at that though. But it was the greatest and the biggest new expansion for Honkai Star Rail and stuff. So you had a whole bunch of other characters that were introduced, like Black Swan and stuff, Sparkle and stuff. My personal fan favorite, we did manage to get Firefly, which, oh gosh, they waited all the way to the end of the banner for us to be able to actually get that character though. But nonetheless, I really did enjoy that. And that was basically started in February, but I went and played it all the way up until like the month of June was like when we finally managed to conclude the whole entire story though. So overall it was definitely a great ride, and definitely a better story than like the La Fu whenever we did that whole entire arc, because I was kind of lost on that one though. So overall, really great story from that. All right, and then after that we managed to get Splatoon 3 DLC for Side Order. I was really looking forward to this DLC because of the, it was kind of set up before this with Octo Expansion, the DLC we managed to get for Splatoon 2. However, with that, this one was a little bit different because it was a rogue style, like you go in, you play these levels and stuff, you go as far as you possibly can, getting upgrades along the way, and then whenever you manage to get all those upgrades and stuff, you just try to go as far as you possibly can up these series of towers and stuff, or these series of floors. And then whenever whenever you happen to lose, you have to start all the way back from the very beginning, rinse, wash, and repeat. If you know anything about me, I'm not necessarily a fan of roguelike games and stuff like that, or like Hades or whatever else you want to bring up into the equation. That just didn't really do it for me though. So that DLC was definitely a little bit more disappointing for me though, but I did like the reward from it where it allowed you to actually be able to explore Inkopolis Square. So I did like that, but outside of that, once I was done with that main story, I never really looked back at it though. So, you know, that's all I had to say on Splatoon 3. It definitely wasn't a highlight like Octo Expansion was. Goodness, we're still not out of the month of February though, because now we got to turn over and look at Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I think this is like one of the first party games I managed to play this year up until this point, since I didn't play another Code Recollection though. But Mario vs. Donkey Kong, it's a very simplistic game. It's not overly complicated or anything like that. It's definitely a GBA remake, you know, because it originally came out on the Game Boy Advance and stuff. And, you know, I went through it, played through it from start to finish. It was just one of those quick, easy pick up and play things. Like you knock out a couple of worlds, you know, a handful of levels, you put the game down, you come back to it and play a little bit more a little bit later on though. So yeah, so overall, very simplistic. You're just running around and either, you know, collecting all of these you know, these different gifts and stuff, so that way you can kind of 100% these levels and stuff. Or then you try to go around, find the key, and then by extension find all these different mini Mario stuff, and then try to beat Donkey Kong, rinse, wash, and repeat. I do like how they added so many extra levels beyond the original ones that they managed to put up in, you know, in the original game. So it's like, hey, there's something for everybody out here though. It only released at $50, so it wasn't too bad for like a little bit of a puzzle game though. But yeah, it was nice, simple, and, you know, something to kind of complement all these other games we got in February. All right, we're almost done with the month of February. Trust me, we're at the finish line now, though. But the last game that actually managed to come out on a leap year was none other than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, this game right here, oh man, this is definitely, I would say, as of this moment right now, the point of recording, my personal game of the year, because it does not get much better than this. Because, man, I was really looking forward to this, especially coming off the heels of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then with that Intergrade DLC they managed to slap up on there as well. I was like, man, I love the combat. Like, being able to switch out between, you know, 3 different people in your party, though. You had the inclusions of Kate Sith up in here, and now you have the inclusion of Yuffie, where you're actually able to play through the whole entire story with her up in the party as well, along with the traditional Cloud, Tifa, and Barret, and, you know, and then also Red 13. Red 13 was a killer up in this game though. I think he was like surprisingly like the best player that I thought I could personally control as, because I think I was between using him, Red 13, Yuffie, and Cloud. I think Cloud was a staple. I always like having him up in the party though. And then I'll just rotate between some of the others and stuff. Maybe Barret if I need long range or something like that. Or Tifa if I need to really stagger enemies like really quick though. But yeah, the world was so much bigger in this one in comparison to Remake. This is where it kind of really opened up. I really love the quests and stuff, because normally I'm not a big fan of side quests, but the way how they treat these side quests in this game, it definitely feels like it was almost part of the original story. So I managed to go through and knock out quite a bit of side quests along the way, a lot more than what I probably ever did in the first Remake or just in games in general though, because they just feel like they have like a little bit extra meat to the bone, if that makes sense though. So it was really pleasing and satisfying just being able to knock all of those out that were usually kind of centered around Cloud and one of the other members in the party and stuff. Love all the different mini games and stuff they managed to add up in there as well, because, you know, this game is known for the mini games once you get to the Golden Saucer and such. But overall, man, the scope on this game is so big. Like the world mission and the world data stuff, like I felt like there was a little bit too much up in the world, where I was like, okay, I was gonna get burned out if I did every little thing though. But it's definitely there for people to be able to kind of, you know, fill out, do the certain things in the world, so that way you kind of feel included up in it, and there's always feels like there's something for you to do. And then, oh gosh, the story itself, I can't really go too deep up in it though, because I know there's probably still people that hadn't managed to play it though, or hadn't finished it. But rest assured, they did some stuff up in this game. I was like, what the heck? And it definitely sets it up for the third part of the story though. Obviously, you know, there's some story beats up in here where you knew what was going to happen based upon the original story of FS7. But at the same point, they did some twists and turns up in there that kind of got me sitting on the edge of my seat. I was like, no, y'all better not do this mess right now. You better not though. But yeah, the Golden Saucer Day, all of those different other events that happen in this game, Chef's Kiss, I love the traversal and stuff with the different vehicles you got to use across the land, riding on these different chocobos and stuff. It was just a great time, and it definitely is a contender for Game of the Year thus far. All right, then next up on the list, I did manage to get Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. That managed to come out in the month of May. And overall, I would say, you know, I was really looking forward to this game. I heard a lot of fanfare and stuff from the Paper Mario community and stuff. I actually originally grew up playing, you know, Super Paper Mario on the Wii. So this was my first time actually sitting down and playing this. Even though I had a GameCube copy, I managed to get that like 2 years before this came out and released, but I never got around to playing it though. And I really enjoyed my time up on it though. I can see why people still love this original storytelling for Paper Mario series. And hopefully we get this, you know, moving from this point forward though, beyond Origami King for whatever happens to be the next new game up in it though. I love the badge system. I love the fact that you had all these different partners who all fought differently and stuff, being able to switch between them in mid-battle and stuff. You know, all of the battle mechanics in terms of the stage and how that happens to work though. It's just great. I loved every single aspect about the game, the world building and stuff. The final boss was cool. So overall, a very solid game, and technically the only second first-party game I played this year. Next up, I did manage to play another little DLC, Final Fantasy 16 Echoes of the Fallen. I did manage to play that around June-ish, but I still need to get to Rising Tide that actually released this year though. So I figure I'll just kind of just quickly mention it right there. I enjoyed my time. It only took about like 5-ish or so hours to go through it though. But I know most of the meat is going to be in the Rising Tide. So hopefully you hear about my thoughts on that soon whenever I get around to it. Then in the month of July, oh gosh, the floodgates were open yet again because Hoyoverse managed to drop out a whole new game known as Zenless Zone Zero. Now, you know, this one, I like how Hoyoverse is able to kind of make different genres for different things, like open adventure and stuff. Genshin, kind of similar, you know, to like Breath of the Wild and stuff. And then we managed to get Honkai Star Rail that's based upon turn-based. And now we got Zenless Zone Zero, which is like all action-based and stuff. I love all the combat and stuff like that. I managed to talk about this recently within my last Zarcast podcast episode, or maybe it was a couple episodes ago though, but you can tell by the thumbnail. But overall, I really did enjoy my experiences with it though. I managed to get quite a bit of characters up in there. The combat's fluid. I love the animation. I love the way how they portray their characters and such. So overall, it was just a great and phenomenal time with me going through and playing through that game though. And it's definitely one that caught me by surprise. And if I were to know the hour count I put up in this game thus far, man, I really don't want to know what it is though, because I know I probably at least put 30 hours up in this thing. I'm still actively playing it to this day. So in terms of like live service stuff, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, those are the two I happen to go back and forth. I don't really play much gacha games outside of Hoyoverse games. It's just kind of where I'm at right now, but overall, it's a great game. And then lastly, that brings us to modern day right now. Recently, I've been playing the Nintendo World Championships that has came out in the month of July. And man, this game is strangely addictive, all right? Like you go in, you try to, you know, beat these different challenges. There's more than 150. And, you know, you're just trying to go through, try to get the best times over there. And then obviously you just try to rinse, wash, and repeat. Getting some of those S ranks in those challenges can be a little bit of a struggle. I did have to look up some YouTube videos and stuff to see exactly how people kind of perfected their craft with beating some of these challenges, and then put my own spin and flavor up on there and try to get the S rank and stuff. So I felt like I got close to like maybe 40% of all the challenges S rank. That is my goal. So I'm just kind of going in there, rinse, washing, repeating though. And then also, I figure it's going to be a good stream, not stream series, but like a recorded series or whatever, though, for me and Steven to race against each other, maybe in some of the Legend and Master challenges, though. So you might be able to look forward to some content like that coming out on the channel here in the distant future, though. But overall, it's a great game. Definitely one that also caught me by surprise. I managed to pick up the physical edition, did an unboxing for that on the channel, though. A lot of great goodies that came up within this game, though. So overall, a great spin on a bunch of classic games. Woo. All right, so that is everything I have played thus far in the year of 2024. So that's like what, from January all the way to July. So almost the first half, with the exception of a couple of July games up in there though. So it's crazy to know that I've managed to go through and play that many games, and I'm curious to hear about y'all's thoughts on what I said about any of the games I have played, or I'm curious to also hear about any games that you have been playing thus in 2024, and what could be your possible, you know, game of the year contender in terms of, you know, what was the best game you managed to play thus far for the year of 2024. Y'all just gotta let me know down in the comment section down below though. But that's going to basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember, y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.